Welcome, friends. Today I'm going to show you how I prepare a brick wall for stucco. First, we're going to square off the damaged stucco with a grinder. While I'm grinding, I'm only grinding through 50% of the material. I do not want to cut into the original mesh or bricks. After squaring off, I grind back the original stucco about 3 inches to allow me to apply and float in my base coat. The reason I don't grind down to the brick is because I want to create a step in the original base coat and then overlap my mesh on top. This overlap assures me that my repair will not crack. I also make sure that the cut is deep enough to embed the new mesh. I fasten the mesh with concrete screws and washers, and I make sure that the corners square off and match up. It's time to apply the base coat. I mix my base coat a little bit dry and start applying it, making sure I push the material behind the mesh. Creating that step and grinding back the original stucco allows me to apply my material with ease, using the grinded surface and the corner beads as guides, creating an even finish. At this point, I think my cameraman drank a few too many energy drinks. Using a trowel is not an easy task, but with practice, it is such a satisfying skill, leaving you mesmerized as you work, especially working on larger surfaces. Remember that your corner beads are your guides. Make sure your corner beads are straight before you start applying. To do this, just glide your trowel without any material over the beads to make sure the mesh doesn't touch the middle of the trowel. If the mesh doesn't touch the middle of the trowel, then your material will go uneven. Here comes the magic, and another few drinks for my cameraman. After the base coat sets a bit, I start floating it. What is floating? Floating is using a flat sponge or a piece of styrofoam to push into the setting material as it's floating on the surface with enough pressure to knock down any peaks left by the trowel and fill any uneven areas on the surface. You do this in a circular motion, adjusting the pressure based on how far along the material has set. If it's too wet, apply less pressure and slow down, or your styrofoam is going to sink into the material and wipe it off. If it's firm, apply more pressure and move a bit faster. If it's getting too firm, then add water to it with a brush and work it into the material with the styrofoam. If it's dry, put your tools in your truck because you screwed up the job and you will have to grind it the next day. The texture of the base coat may vary depending on the aggregate that is being used to make the material. Some base coats have thicker aggregates in the mix, leaving swirls in your finish. That's okay, depending on what stucco finish is being used. If the finish is a finer material, I would use a finer base coat as well. When floating near corners, make sure you stay tight to your inside corners and clean off your outside corners when you're done floating. Also, keep a pail of water beside you and constantly clean your tools. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for dropping by. See you next time.